Ever wonder what makes a racket stringer the dote, the absolute best in the biz?
It's a question I've asked myself.
We're diving deep into BSW certification, and trust me, this isn't your grandma's knitting circle.
No, not at all.
This is about serious performance, taking a player's game to the next level.
Right, it's way more than just like tying a knot. We're talking about unlocking a player's full potential out there on the court.
Totally. And to help us break it down, we've got an expert who's seen firsthand how BSW goes beyond just the technical stuff.
Happy to be here.
So, right off the bat, when we say BSW focuses on player improvement, what does that actually mean? Our sources make it sound like a pretty big deal.
Yeah, it's the heart of the whole thing. You see, a BSW certified stringer, they're not just trying to create, a technically perfect string job. It's about understanding the player, their game, their style, what they want to achieve on the court.
Okay, so it's like less about the strings themselves and more about how those strings can help the player up their game.
Exactly. Think about it. When you're confident in your equipment, your racket feels like an extension of your arm. You play with so much more freedom, right? You take those risky shots, you go that extra mile because you trust your gear.
Makes sense. I mean, I know if I don't trust my equipment, I get in my head about it and then game over.
Exactly. And that confidence, that translates to better performance, more wins, more of everything you want as a player. That's what BSW is all about.
It's like that extra edge.
Exactly, that extra edge.
Yeah, I like it. And speaking of going beyond the technical, the source material talks about building lasting relationships. Is that really a thing in the world of stringing?
It's huge, actually. See, a BSW stringer gets it. They're not just stringing in a vacuum. They're building these relationships with players, getting to know their strengths, their weaknesses, what makes them tick on the court.
So it's a much more personal approach.
Absolutely. They become trusted advisors, almost like an extension of the player's coaching team.
That's cool. But I'd imagine that level of individual attention, it's got to be tough from a business perspective, right? I mean, focusing so much on one player. Does that make sense when you're running a business?
It's a good question. It might seem counterintuitive, like you're spending all this time on one person, but it actually creates this incredibly loyal clientele.
Oh, I see. Because the players feel valued.
Exactly. They value the expertise, they value the personalized service, and they keep coming back for more. It's about building a sustainable business on trust and genuine impact.
So it's a win-win. The players get this incredible service, and the stringer gets to build a successful business by actually, making a difference in these players' game.
Exactly. And let's be real, when you're passionate about racket sports like we are, seeing your work directly translate into a player's success, that's incredibly rewarding.
Absolutely. Now, our sources talk about BSW's global reach, but how do these principles, this focus on the individual player, how does that translate across different cultures, playing styles, all of that?
Well, you're right, there are nuances. I mean, the demands of, say, a clay court in Europe are going to be different from a hard court in Australia, right? But the fundamental principles, those are universal.
So understanding the player comes first, no matter what.
Always. Understanding the player, their equipment, what they're trying to achieve that transcends borders. It's about applying those core principles to those specific needs.
A universal language of performance.
Exactly.
I love it. Now, one last thing from our deep dive here. BSW stresses continuous learning even after you're certified. What does that actually look like for a stringer?
Well, think about it. The world of racket sports is always evolving. New materials, new frame designs, new string compositions.
That's true. I feel like there's always something new.
Always. And a BSW stringer is committed to staying ahead of the curves. Constantly learning, refining techniques. They want to be the best they can be.
To be the best for their clients. So looking ahead, with all this new tech coming out, how do you see the role of a BSW stringer evolving alongside it?
Ooh, that's a good one. Imagine stringers using data analysis.
Whoa.
Right. What if they could incorporate AI? They could customize stringing patterns based on player data, even predict string failure based on play style.
That's wild. It's like taking all this personalized attention to a whole other level.
Exactly. The possibilities are really exciting.
That's amazing. So we've seen BSW is not your average certification. It's about player experience, constant improvement, really redefining what it means to be a stringer.
And it gets you thinking, what if we applied this to other fields? How could we elevate what we do by focusing on that personalized understanding, continuous learning?
It's a great question to think about.
What would your field look like if you really took this to heart?
It's a thought-provoking question to leave our listeners with. Thanks for the deep dive.
My pleasure.
Until next time.
We're the best stringer worldwide, passion and knowledge.